Hello and welcome. Now, when you picture the American Civil War, you probably think of the great battles, right? Gettysburg, Antietam. But what if I told you the war was really won somewhere else entirely? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the unseen engine that truly decided the conflict. You see, this wasn't just a contest of soldiers in blue and gray. It was a contest of systems. And we're going to show you how the Union victory was forged, not just on the battlefield, but by a massive, overwhelming, and frankly, terrifyingly efficient industrial machine. So here's how we'll break it down. We'll look at the architect behind it all, the arteries that kept it moving, the nerves that controlled it, and the industrial fists that did the punching. And finally, we'll see how it all led to an almost inevitable outcome. Okay, first up, let's meet the guy who basically designed and ran this whole show. His name was Montgomery C. Meigs. And get this, he was a Southerner by birth. But he was also a staunch Unionist, and as Quartermaster General, he weaponized logistics on a scale that nobody had ever seen before. And hey, don't just take my word for it. The Secretary of State at the time, William H. Seward, said that without Meigs, the national cause must have been lost or deeply imperiled. That's not just political flattery, okay? His role was absolutely central to the Union's ability to even wage war. To give you a sense of the scale here, just look at this number, $1.5 billion. In the 1860s, that's how much money his department was responsible for. And what's maybe even more incredible is that every single cent was honestly and scrupulously accounted for. No corruption, just pure, ruthless efficiency. So the Quartermaster General's job is to get an army everything it needs to fight. We're talking food, bullets, uniforms, transportation, the whole shebang. But Meigs didn't just do the job, he completely transformed it. He molded his department into what historians now call a great tool of war. Okay, so if Meigs was the brain behind this operation, what were the arteries that pumped life into this war machine? Well, the answer was thousands of miles of steel rails, the railroads. And this wasn't just about using existing civilian tracks. The Union created something called the United States Military Railroad, or USMRR, and they took control of over 2,000 miles of captured Southern track, turning it into a massive, dedicated military network. Now, if you want a perfect example of this in action, look no further than the Chattanooga campaign in 1863. This was a true logistical masterpiece. You had a Union army that was completely besieged, cut off, and basically starving. The railroad was its only hope. The plan? Move a massive number of reinforcements from the Army of the Potomac. We're talking about 25,000 men. And they weren't just moving them down the road. This was a journey of over 1,200 miles, all the way from Virginia down to Alabama. Think about that for a second. 25,000 men, their gear, their animals, all moved over 1,200 miles of patchwork railway lines, and they did it in just 12 days. It's staggering. But here is where it gets really mind-blowing. Let's put it in perspective. For the very same campaign, the Confederates also moved troops by rail. But look at this comparison. The Union moved more than double the number of men, 50% farther, and did it in the exact same amount of time. That, right there, is the difference an industrial system makes. So we've got the arteries, the railroads. But every great machine needs a nervous system, right? A way to send signals instantly? For the Union war machine, that was the military telegraph. These guys, the U.S. Military Telegraph Corps, were incredible. They followed the armies, stringing over 15,000 miles of new telegraph wire as they went. It was a communications web that spanned the continent. And this just changed the game completely. I mean, think about the old way. You send a message by a rider on a horse. It takes days, maybe weeks. It could get intercepted. With the telegraph, boom, it's instantaneous. Using secure ciphers, President Lincoln himself, sitting in the War Department, could get real-time updates and give direct orders to generals hundreds of miles away. It was a total revolution in command and control. So we have the brains, the arteries, and the nerves. Now let's talk about the fists, the raw, overwhelming power of Northern industry. And we can see it all perfectly in one single, vital piece of equipment. I'm talking about this, the Springfield Model 1861 rifled musket. Now, this was more than just a gun. It was a symbol of everything the Union's industrial might could bring to bear. It was accurate, reliable, and had incredible range for its time. And the North didn't just make a few of them. Northern factories, especially the main Springfield Armory, just churned them out. About 1 million of these standardized rifles were produced during the war. 1 million. And because they were standardized, they were reliable. Interchangeable parts meant easy repairs. It meant you could arm pretty much every single Union soldier with the same high-quality, dependable weapon. That's a logistical dream and a battlefield advantage the largely agricultural South just couldn't match, not even close. So let's step back and look at the whole picture again. When you put all of these pieces together, the brilliant architect, the weaponized railways, the instant communication, the overwhelming industrial power, what you get is something else entirely. It's an unstoppable industrial monster, a Leviathan. It all adds up, doesn't it? You have masterful logistics, getting everything it needed everywhere it needed to be. You have railways moving whole armies faster than anyone thought possible. You have a command structure controlling a continental war from a single room. And you have an arsenal that could simply outproduce and outlast anything the enemy could field. The Union victory starts to look less like a military upset and more like the logical product of a far superior system. And what this all really shows us is that logistics aren't just about beans and bullets. They are the cold, hard arithmetic of modern warfare. It leaves us with a pretty stark question, doesn't it? When war becomes a contest of industrial output, is victory simply a matter of math? Thanks for watching.